who wants the ball? Who wants to be a stakeholder?
Wasn't there a story where you had to bump Ryan Reynolds from something? So
yeah, there is actually. The first 30 seconds is, are you an expert at this? Do you seemingly have it figured out?
And I appreciate that. Some of my favorite, most impactful mentors, I fucking hated them while we were talking anyways.
Right.
And then I love them afterwards because I understood later on where they were pushing me. But you carry a coin with you, and on one side it says fuck no, and the other side says fuck yes.
Correct, yeah.
How do you utilize such a tool?
Here we go.
Podcast, I'm here with the
money, making crap for money, money, and
Welcome back to the Summit Chasers podcast. I am here with the great and powerful Michael DeLucca. Thank you so much for being here, my friend.
I appreciate you having me on.
We met for maybe 3 minutes at one of your events.
We did.
A week or two ago. I can't remember. Time is either flying or standing still. But you had an aura about you. And you could tell whether it was the people, how you presented yourself, how you spoke, how you carried yourself, but there's an aura about you. I'm going to leave a lot of links down below so you can get to know a little bit more about his story and how he got to where he is. We don't need to go into that now. But what I do want to give you a little bit of an insight into is the type of person that you are. And there's 2 things I wanted to hit on first.
Sure.
One is, and you didn't bring it, and that's totally okay.
Right.
I heard it in a podcast, and you mentioned it to Adrena before you came on, but you carry a coin with you. And on one side it says fuck no, and the other side says fuck yes.
Correct, yeah. How
do you utilize such a tool?
You know, it's kind of funny. It's it started as sort of a joke years ago, but it's to say that when you're a founder, you don't know the answer, and so it's all sort of a coin flip on whether I should move forward with this way. But it reminds me to be lighthearted with decision making, and to execute quickly. Right, like that's the big thing is moving fast and pivoting, and so oftentimes someone will be like, well, I think this is a good idea, and I'm probably going to do it anyways, but I'll flip the coin and I'll hope for that fuck yes on there, but oftentimes, and it will oftentimes come up in our favor that's what we'll do forward. But the idea is you're throwing spaghetti at a wall. I'm trying everything and anything possible when building a community channel, when getting user traction, when getting growth, when trying to build those that spin that flywheel, so to speak. Yeah. So even as an exited founder, even as someone that's in the profession of building $100 million marketing campaigns for the biggest brands in the world, every single new challenge is a new challenge. And while I'm bringing some of those tools, so to speak, that toolbox is full. I have a lot of tools, like just as a mechanic or a contractor would have over the years, and that certainly makes it easier. But the challenge is still a complicated challenge, and so I'm no better than anyone else at knowing the way forward. It's just doing more, and that's sort of the goal for me. And so I'll often flip a coin in front of the staff, and we'll try everything is really what it is. But it's to keep that lightheartedness that if you have analysis paralysis, you're likely to do nothing, and something beats nothing every day. So if flipping a coin moves me forward from analysis paralysis, I'll flip a coin. And obviously the fact that the coin just happens to be funny and it adds to the comical value of it.
And business owners listen to this. If you adopt such a tool, your results may vary. Use wisely.
Yes, for sure.
The other thing, it was somebody who has as much success as you have, and I've heard that you categorize yourself as such, but you're a leader. You're a leader. And one thing that I heard, actually I believe it was on a podcast that you said, hiring, it's almost like drafting all-stars. And once you're in, it's like you're in the Navy SEALs.
Right.
And business owners hear this, especially they read, like Jocko Willink or Goggins and any other Navy SEAL who writes a book on
super
leadership.
Hardcore stuff. But
hardcore stuff.
I'm more like just trying to make my bed every morning, but yeah.
So from like a realistic standpoint, and again, people, they see those headlines, right? Or they read the cover of a book, or they skim through a book, the dichotomy of leadership and that kind of stuff.
Right.
I don't know if they understand exactly what that means. They go in, okay, I'm going to be a hard ass. I'm just going to push people till they break, and if they don't, cool. But on a day-to-day basis, you bring in an A player. They come to you and they say, I want to have a chief in front of my title one day.
Right.
What does the next week look like for them now that you know where they want to go and that they can be pushed?
So everything starts with I tell everyone, listen, some of my favorite employees throughout the years have been people that just supported me. They've worked their 9 to 5 and they've went home and they had families. And you know, when I try to be as socially understanding and have EQ as possible, right? Like that, what you just described isn't for every single person, right? And not every person needs to do that on the team either. So there's no shame in the game of wanting to reproduce, have a family, be a great dad, be a great mom, do 8 hours of amazing work and clock out. That's okay, right? But if you want more and you want to subscribe to the pain that comes with that, I'll allow it. And so I ask them, and just like in the SEALs, you can ring the bell and go back to that same way of life at any time. But if you come in here and you want something more than to be an administrator, or you want to work up to manager, there's no glass ceiling in my companies. That's the beauty of coming into a startup where we're looking for position players. But when the ball gets thrown to you, you know, you got to catch it and you got to make a move. And so that's sort of the process of that. And I do that through consistency, steadfast, and discipline and attention to detail. So if you look back at sort of, you know, when I, you know, as being in the military myself and being a part of the veteran community, I love hiring veterans. And the thing about a veteran is that we've learned that you need to make it very binary, right? We have one of the greatest fighting forces in the world, and we break the mold of individuality and become a collective, right? Like one person can't win a battle, win a war. You know, certainly they can make material impact and they can win Purple Hearts and Medal of Honors. And I happened to meet a guy named Will, who's a recent recipient of the Medal of Honor. He's the most humble guy that you could ever meet. He's like, everybody would have done it. I said, well, not everybody would have done it. That's why you have the Medal of Honor. Probably everybody else would have ran away, because it's a natural flight or fight instinct, and probably 1% of people can move towards danger. It's paralyzing. And so some of the things that he did specifically, you know, obviously categorize him as an American hero and treasure. For us, every single day, it's just moving forward with discipline. Anyone could come into a new company, and so when you roll that back for that first week you were talking about, the first week doesn't really matter much what someone says to me, right? Everybody says that in the first week, right? So I look at what the first month looks like, and really what the first 90 days look like are the most important, because I think talk is cheap. Show me what you want, because a lot of people can come in and they can have all that energy on the first week, the second week, the third week, but it isn't all that. It's the ability to do the same thing repetitively. Every morning I wake up, my bed is made. I have coffee at the same time. I then go to the gym. I then move forward and answer my emails. I'm very regimented. So I think it's like their ability to show me that they're steadfast. And it's the same thing when I look at a college degree. Do I really value the college degree over the skill set? No, I don't. But I do like that someone took 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, however long they had, and they dedicated it to a craft. That's interesting to me, especially when it's in the computer sciences or data science. So that's what I'm really looking for. I'm looking for you to show me that you want that pain, and I'm happy to dish it out every single day if you want it. But it's going to be the discipline and the attention to detail. I think that's what gets kind of glazed over. It's all the excitement. Being on a podcast is fun, right? Building a logo is fun. Having a brand, making a website, and then it's like, oh, wait, I have to go sell? And then that piece gets missed, right? So
absolutely. Well, what's in that first 30 or 90 days? What's kind of that leading indicator that would say there could work out? There's high likelihood of them being successful in this role, and again, practicing what they preach, and them maybe saying this isn't the right fit for you.
You know, when I'm trying to identify someone that's going to be an impact player, it's someone that wants the ball when the game's on the line, right?
That's a good one. Yeah.
You know, and so like, if the game is on the line and we're against these KPIs, these key performance indicators, is which every startup has.
Yeah.
Who wants the ball? Who wants to be a stakeholder? And so when I see people in the first 90 days step up as stakeholder, meaning that they're not hiding in the details. So if I hire you and you're my head of growth and you're doing everything but growing, but you're finding ways to be busy every day for 8 hours a day, that's not something I'm looking at as success. If you're my head of product and you're like hiding in the details of like, everybody comes to work, everybody works 8 hours. Did the 8 hours, did you catch the ball and make a touchdown is the question. And so I try to run the team by saying, guys, so I'm very different. I'm not interested in, I say this now, it's not to say that I wouldn't do it because I've never done it before, but I'm not interested in sort of building an IPO'd company. You know, the idea of like building all these things and then end up being in a suit on MSNBC, like arguing about my stock price. Sort of I'm a builder.
Yeah,
I want to build cool things. And I've always joked and said that when a company needs an HR department, it's time to sell the business. Not to say we don't have HR. We have HR. We do have HR.
Yeah, okay.
But I'm saying that when it's more important about human resources and the nonsense over building and making material impact and delivering a great product to the customers, where it's like the people in the organization and whatever they have going on is more important than the customers and the growth of the thing. That's sort of like when I'm sort of looking at that exit point. So when people come in, I try to motivate them, because the only difference between a long-term goal and a short-term goal is time. So a lot of people can accomplish short-term things, but they can't see long-term.
Yeah.
So I say, okay, well, could you get into crypto tomorrow? Like anybody can get into crypto tomorrow, but can you stay in it for 4 or 5 years through a whole cycle? No, they can't. They FOMO in, they get out, they freak out. And so it's the same thing with a company. So the very first thing I say is, I build to sell. What does that mean for you? Well, you're going to come in, you're going to get a lot of stock, right? Now, once I've issued that stock, you're now going on a vesting schedule. And at the end of, let's call it a 4-year term. I want you to think about your life in the first 2 years here and the latter 2 years here. So you're attached to me. I like to win. So I do not want to come here every day, work 8, 12-hour days, and at the end of that 4 years, the stock's worth nothing. Because we could do that just as easy as coming here every day and making sure the stock goes up, and then sell, and you'll all be millionaires at the end of this. So we have those two paths. So if we can either make it binary, and did you win or lose the day, and we can add up all those days, and we can make that 4 years be the most important 4 years that you've ever worked, and it could have multi-million-dollar payouts, or we could do the whole thing, run out of capital, and there's nothing left at the end. And then I start something new with a new 12 people. So what we do in this 2 years, this 4 years, the KPIs, the growth, the traction, it's what matters. And so I try to get that buy-in.
Yeah.
And I think that's the very thing that lacks in some startups, is that you're just working every day and you don't really understand what you're working for. So you really need to like dangle the carrot, because not everybody has that 2-year, 4-year, 10-year vision. I mean, you're building a 10-year thing at the end of the day. But if I can get 4 good years over people wanting to make something binary to win or lose, and I can say, don't do anything in this company. The last things that you do every day are the things that don't affect traction, which is growth, that don't affect revenue, which comes from traction and growth. And if you have traction and growth, which brings revenue, you get the third thing, which is raising capital to grow faster. So it's those 3 pillars. So I don't care how anything else I don't care like the inventory of our snack closet. Other people care a lot about what coffee pods we have, which snacks we have, and that's fantastic. But I will assure you that those 3 things do not affect the user growth of this app, the user engagement of the app, the revenue it brings, and the capital it brings. So think to yourselves every day, what am I doing to make that material impact on those three things? Which will lead us probably into a future conversation of who deserves capital when they're raising it, right? So that's sort of how I look at those things.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my follow-up questions, but it gives a really good insight into the type of builder because there's so many different types of founders, owners, CEOs, and there's a spectrum. It's barbarians to bureaucracy, and then in that lies in between lies the spectrum, and you're in that builder where if you were to go into we're going to hire you as the CEO of Yahoo or Netflix, you would be miserable because
I would not even be miserable. I would be fired in a week.
They would they care so much about how many snacks are in the snack closet.
Right. I can't live in the bureaucracy. I have a friend who works for a very big publicly traded company. She's like, yeah, one of our employees, like, he has this thing where he collects red Solo cups. Mm-hmm. And so he's got like 150 red Solo cups stacked up all over his desk.
Nice.
And I'm like, I would literally go to that desk and just whoosh all those Solo cups onto the floor. It's like, you get fired by HR for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm like, listen, we're not building Solo cup towers. We're building real towers.
Yeah.
And this company is building real towers. So, I wouldn't survive. I'm not built for that, right? I'm built for doing the things that materially matter.
Yeah.
And so I want those people to follow me and do those things with me. And so it's like, if we're worried about how many Solo cups are stacked on our desk or what the dress code is or all these just don't matter.
Yeah.
It's like, go fast, break everything, and build something that people want to use.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Everyone's afraid to do the thing. And then they wonder why is this hard? Well, because you're not doing the thing that actually makes any material difference. And that's what I meant when we were talking about story, which I'm sure we'll get into, because stories matter, but they matter less than doing the thing.
Yeah. And that you see a lot of founders make that mistake where they don't hire those builders, those grinders, the ones that are willing to break things. They hire professional managers that come from these bigger companies. So that kind of leads us into hiring. How do you... Again, you can never guarantee this person I'm going to bring in is going to be an A++ player, going to be here for 4 years and help, be a 10x employee. But what are some things that, maybe some advice or things that you've done where you, again, increase the odds in your favor that these people that I'm bringing in, either that I'm attracting or choosing between, are the A++ and not even B players? Yeah,
so there's a couple things I do. One is, I think Gary Vee probably says it best. You don't know, so you hire quick and you fire quick. I try to identify very quickly within the first couple of weeks, even the first 30 days, that if you're drawing red flags, it's like you're dating someone. The first couple of weeks, the first month, they should be on their very best behavior. Yeah. If you're already experiencing red flags in the first sort of month where they're not saying the things that sort of are going to lead to success, cut the loss. Doesn't matter. Move on. Keep, and always be hiring. If you were to look up Otzi on Indeed, like there's job postings every single day.
You have it right on your website,
and we have them on our website. So we're just always hiring, and we're always on the search for the very best talent. And the team knows that. It's like you're either gonna be the boss or get a boss. One of the two things are hiring, because what's happening is you're on a company that's hockey sticking and moving up. Yeah. So we're always growing. We're going to double the team size in the next 18 months. So you're either going to be the boss or get a boss. It's up to you which one works for you. But for me, the motivation, how I think I increase the success, this is something that I do that I don't know that it's the best way to do it. So I have a friend, and he hired an executive assistant to the leadership team, and this person came from a FANG company. So FANG is your Facebooks, your Amazons, Netflix, Google. So you would just think right off the bat that person would just be phenomenal, but he doesn't integrate her, doesn't get the buy-in. It's just a person who sits at the desk and schedules calendars. So I get personal with people, right? It's why I'm not built for Yahoo or Google or anywhere else. I get personal. I expose them to the fun things, the podcasts. I expose them to, every year we sponsor the Vets in Tech Gala that's in San Francisco. I let them all put on their ball gowns and their tuxedos. We get 15 tickets. We walk the red carpet. Like, you got to give them the cool stuff with the work. Because if you don't have buy-in, you don't have much. And so I think a lot of people that are successful, they feel like the success automatically brings the buy-in. The buy-in is having personal conversations. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to break you down, and I'm going to find out what makes you tick. Every person that's on the team, I want to know what motivates you. And, you know, I asked one of my employees the other day, I said, you know, you seem like a free spirit. And she's like, yes, I am a free spirit. I said, do you care what people think about you? She's like, not really. And I said, you should. And I walked away. Because that caring what people think puts the chip on your shoulder. That chip on the shoulder drives ambition and success. If nothing is ever good enough, it will never be good enough, and you'll keep moving. Doesn't mean that's the lifestyle everyone should live. But just not caring, like, it's like, no, care. Care about everything.
Yeah.
Care about the way your bed looks when you make it in the morning. Care about, like, this is some people, you're talking about tyrannical. I do some tyrannical things. Like, I care if I walk through the parking lot up to my office and I look into people's cars and they're rolling lockers of mess, I say something. Everyone thinks that they can come to work and switch off the person that they are and put this mask on, right? And so I'm going to go to work and I'm this different person at work. I'm this professional guy. No, you're not. You're the same person who drove here with 72 pairs of shoes or clothing or McDonald's bags on your floor of your car. And then you're coming here and you're thinking that you're not that. No, you are. You are the people that surround you, the friends you make. You are what you eat. You know, I've been on an epic health journey myself. I was 430 pounds 2.5 years ago.
Good for you.
I've lost over 170 pounds. And I'm in that gym every day. I'm on meal plans. I track my macros. And so I have the MyFitnessPal app, and I'm incredibly consistent, and I type in what I ate every day.
Yeah.
Even if I was a piece of shit that day. And we're all
the most
capable
important day
of
to
it,
do that.
right? So we're all capable of doing that. But the point is, if I don't track the wins and the losses, there's no way to have more wins and losses. So at the end of the week, I don't need to do it every day, but at the end of the week, it's like either I'm in a deficit or I'm not. And if I'm not in a deficit, guess what happens? I'm not losing weight, right? And so, you know, and I get a, you know, sometimes, you know, you're working out and you're gaining muscle. So I have, a $50 scale that probably at some level of accuracy, it's probably fairly inaccurate, but tracks my skeletal mass, my muscle mass, you know, your water intake. And so I love data. It's like, and I love making things binary. And it's like, just be so accountable. And life becomes a lot easier if you accept accountability.
So how important is that? Were there outside of work life matches or is consistent with? Because you see a lot of these other popular figures. I don't know if you're familiar with Andy Elliott. Yeah. He says if you don't have a six-pack, you're not working here. I'm not saying that to be your policy. However, he probably doesn't have an HR department. But But how important is it that they're outside? Like you said, they should be taking care of themselves. Their car should be clean. That's an indicator that they could be potentially more successful.
Yeah, I mean, so like obviously, like not many people have a six-pack, but I think what he's saying is it takes incredible discipline to have one.
Yeah.
So the idea is if you're not a disciplined individual in your whole life, he doesn't want you there. I'm sure there's people that work there without a six-pack, but the statement is about, I think, discipline. And exactly what I think I was talking about in the sense of like how you do something is how you do everything. And so I think when you forget about that, people just are literally they really believe that you can't that other people can't tell. They're living in this delusional world. If you're chaotic and messy, your brain is chaotic and messy. Like I could see the way how it would translate into work. It doesn't mean that there isn't that for everyone. Do I want my graphic artist or my UI UX developer or our film department to be the organized people? No, I want them to be chaos.
Yeah, creative chaos.
Of creative chaos. And I want to put them in a room and let them be chaotically and experience that together. So every position is different. If you want a sales guy, you want one regimented. I want my head of product, my head of growth, I want them regimented. But I also want them thinking outside the box. It's why we moved from a corporate office into a creator house. We went and got a piece of land that we have pickleball courts. We have a casita with a studio, a content studio. The whole interior of the house is turned into an office space. And so we do activation events there. And I wanted them to feel creative as a team. But now we have to keep discipline here. This isn't just a free-for-all. I want people sleeping on couches in the middle of the day, in the pool at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, the investors wouldn't love that. So, but 5 o'clock you can get in the pool. Just don't bring your laptop in it. So, but yeah, that's, at the end of the day, it is discipline. And so I think that solves that first question. I don't know if there was a second part to it. So I try to be the same way with the staff.
I mean, really what it comes down to is there's not one answer. Like you have, for your creatives, you need to give them the space to break things, mess up, be creative. If they're destroy their car with McDonald's, but that's what allows them to be a part of what allows them to be creative, then that's fine. But then, like you said, you have your managers, and then you have your sales where they need to focus on data, be consistent, regimented. Then, okay, maybe a messy car is maybe even an indicator that they might not be like that in their whole life. How they do some things is how they do everything. One thing that I love about what you do and have done, first of all, you support the community and you support business owners, which is amazing. And you have an actual mentor program, Scared to Scale. Scared to Scale. So tell me a little bit about kind of your mentor philosophy and a little bit about Scared to Scale. I wanted to talk about that for a second.
So I'm really big in when you so how the ecosystem normally works is every piece it's just like classism in society. So it's those that have never been funded and aren't capable of building things, and then you build something and you end up in this new class. Then you get funded and you get in this class, and then you get funded at certain milestones. You're in this class. Then you're exited. You're in this class. And so I try to break the classism, and I try to. I believe it was Denzel Washington who had this. It was a commencement speech, but he said, each one teach one, reach down, pull people up. So one of the initiatives at Scared to Scale is to do a funded founder event. Because what happens is there's very limited capital in our ecosystem. But there's over 20-something people that I know of that have received it. But then they go heads down and they just go build their thing. And they never come back to the events to mentor. And to bring the next generation of people up. So what Scared to Scale does is it brings all the funded founders in a room. One, it's stressful even once you've raised capital to deploy it, and you're going to run into a million challenges. So bringing all the people who have this sort of, they say heavy is the head that wears the crown. It's lonely at the top, right? Yeah. And it is, because it's seemingly all your decisions, whether or not, you go out and you raise $1 million in an early stage. That's like taking a revolver, loading one bullet in it, and getting one shot to hit the milestones and the KPIs that'll get you to the next round. So it was really hard to raise it, but then now all of a sudden you have to deploy it. So bringing that ecosystem and fostering the people who have all raised it and share how they deploy it. Share the stresses of scaling, of hiring the right people, all the things we're talking about, and bringing those people in. But then also saying, hey, guys, it's now our responsibility. So you want to have, say you get a pre-seed round. So the way it goes is a pre-seed, a seed, an A. That's the big one. That's the qualified round, where you're usually going to get a 409A valuation, and all the previous safe and convertible notes are going to now convert into equity ownership, and you're going to be institutionally backed in that round, ideally, if you've done it. And then your Bs and your Cs, and then you'll either IPO or you'll M&A. So what's beautiful about Vegas is we're a sanctuary of the wealthy. So you look at Summit, and McDonald Ranch, and Dragon Ridge, and people will tell me, oh, there's no money in our ecosystem. The money's here. They're living in Summit. There's $10, $20 million homes there. They're living in McDonald Ranch, living in Dragon Ridge. But they're flying back to wherever they're from, California, Denver, Texas, wherever, and they're deploying their capital there because they're not even looking at our ecosystem as enough of a talent pool to deploy checks here. There's big guys here. And so the only way that works is the ones that are succeeding band together, build this success pool, and then bring up the next generation of talent. Enough where we're getting national attention. So these VC firms whose general partners, which are the owners, the GPs, live here, don't laugh at what we're doing here and start writing checks. So it's not about the scarcity of we got a check, now I'm going to go do the thing. It's you have to continue to community build. So the idea of Scared to Scale was I wanted to be like very non-dilutive, not sharky. Most of the angel economy in Las Vegas is very sharky. So they're like giving a $25,000 check and taking like real equity in the business. So I said, you know what? If I really like your company, I'll write you a $20,000 check. If I like it, you know, to a point where I think you're just a great founder, I'll at least write you a $10,000 check, and all I'll take is advisory shares. Now, advisory shares are normally given away for free. And so I'm going to pay for mine because I don't want to be predatory. And I'm looking for companies where I can open doors. Because the idea is I come in, I give you a little bit of capital. Now, someone can say, well, $10,000 or $20,000 is nothing. It's not a lot of money to build a tech company. And they're right. But it depends who you're targeting, right? So I have a great program with UNLV where I was taking a lot of interns. I've got interns telling me, oh, well, I'm here on a visa, but I can't afford to stay here for the summer. So I either have to go back home where I came from, whether that's internationally or domestically, or I got to go live with my parents and get like a job working at Del Taco or, you know, Chipotle or something, or delivering pizzas. And I'm saying, well, you know what? Why don't you stay in the dorms? And here's a $20,000 check, which you probably weren't going to make much more than that working at, you know, a fast food joint. And now you can actually take that capital, pay your rent, and develop all summer long.
That's amazing.
So I'm giving them 20 grand to bet on themselves. They're juniors in college. They're sophomores in college. They're seniors in college. To a mature ecosystem, that's not a big deal. But to these young kids at UNLV, to not have to go exchange 8 hours of their time flipping a hamburger or delivering a pizza and letting them hone their craft for a summer, that to me was a big deal.
Huge.
So that's where the program was born from. And so, and I met a lot of cool kids and a lot of great founders. And so the ones that sort of are in the ethos of hospitality, have advertising and marketing plays where I'm the strongest, I'm like, okay, I can open doors. I'll help build an advisory board for you, and I'll get you in front of people to pitch, and I'll help you refine your pitch. And I'll give you access to, you know, like we have Crunchbase. We have other services to help raise capital and get access to investor information. So, and some of those are like $30,000 or $40,000 a year to have that access. Hey, look, I'll do a refined report at the end, and I'll give you a list of people. I want you to start reaching out to them on LinkedIn. I want you to grind. And so it's the same as my employees, the people I mentor, the people I do business with. If I see you doing the thing, at the end of the day, pardon my French, I'm going to fuck with you. Right? Like we're going to be cool. I'm going to do business with you. I'm going to help open doors. If you're doing the thing. Not just talking about it.
Is the reason a lot of those investors, not to quote LeBron James here, took their interest elsewhere, just this market wasn't mature enough, they didn't see it, it was over monopolized by tourism and hospitality, so it just wasn't seen or being taken seriously? What was causing them to just not take it seriously and invest?
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's so many. Yeah, it's a loaded question. One is like obviously just the overall stigma of Vegas, right? I moved here 15, 16 years ago. When I came here, you know, my own parents were like, what are you doing? Where are you going? They didn't even understand what I did. The first company I built was a travel and concierge company.
Yeah.
Like they were like, "You're doing what? What is travel and concierge?" We later did over $100 million in top line revenue and grew it to multiple cities.
That was with Red Carpet.
That's what Red Carpet. Yeah. But they didn't understand Red Carpet. They're like, "Oh, you're setting up people in nightclubs and private jets and." In their mind, this is debauchery.
Yeah.
And to some degree, are we selling debauchery? I guess. I'm not going to win a Nobel Peace Prize for it, that's for sure. But it was a great way to make a living and meet really interesting people because everyone needs to cut loose.
Yeah.
And Vegas is a playground to cut loose. Go and gamble, see a great show, eat phenomenal meals at top-tier chef restaurants, and be a part of these beautiful works of art of a casino. And it's like some of these casinos, just their art collections are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like as the Wynn and the Bellagio. So it's a fantastic place to be. But over that 15, 16 years, I watched us grow into a metropolis and become an area where we're building culture, we're getting sports teams, and we're not just a 5-mile long strip of debauchery, right? The communities outside of that, the Summerlin, Southwest. Wow, what an explosion over 3 years with the Uncommons and the Durango. And the Durango is now like one of my favorite casinos. And this is coming from someone who lives on Strip. I live on Strip. So I normally am in the Fontainebleau or in the Wynn myself, and I found myself driving all the way out to the Durango to have a really cool local experience. And in fact, our Scared to Scale events are hosted
That's where it is, yeah.
Bel Air Lounge
beautiful
in
hotel.
the Durango. Blackfire's Institute of Technology is right there, right? DraftKings is across the street.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
So we're building this community, but what is happening is there isn't enough talent. And so the same sort of founders that would be eaten alive in Silicon Valley or Austin or Denver, they can continue to show up. And because there's not enough people to replace them going into the same type of industries, it's not competitive.
Okay.
And then we don't want to fail as an ecosystem, so we're encouraging those folks that should have gotten eaten alive.
Kind of like the B team, perceptively.
Yeah. We're like literally like B team would be
gracious.
Gracious. We're like the D team.
Yeah. Okay.
But then we're like telling the D team, you did a great job,
Oh,
because we need still people to come.
Yeah.
We need them to come to the events and support the community and show up. But we're not doing any favors because there might be people that are getting encouraged on that D team that are A players if they would just get ripped to shreds. So I am unpopular in the ecosystem sometimes, maybe all the time, I don't know, when I sit on the panels, because I will rip these founders a new one.
You're honest.
I'm going to bring the same tenacity and the same adversity that I've personally faced. Pitching in Silicon Valley, pitching in Miami, pitching in South by Southwest in Austin, because I want them to succeed. I don't want them to feel good about whatever nonsense they want to feel good about and show up to the next week's pitch event and not have any real feedback. The best thing that I can ever do for anyone starting a business is challenge them first of whether they should have started it at all.
Yeah.
You know, there's red flags right from the beginning. Sometimes someone will come to me and be like, oh, I lost my job and I just decided I wanted to be my own boss. I'm like, don't pass go. You get no $200. Go back to work.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So that's, you know, you're seeing that, and it's like, that's not the reason you, like, something needs to burn in you. So there is a component of the story, and it's that burning sensation that you are meant to do more.
Yeah.
And you're going to take getting stoned, getting told no. Everyone's going to tell you it's the dumbest idea in the world. And that's the same, like, so when we talk about story, every startup that succeeded has a story. And the story wasn't like, you know what? We all quit our jobs. we got together.
I wanted to see what it was like.
You know, we worked 10 to 4. We had a lot of life balance, work-life balance. You know, we were playing like soccer after work. Like, it's like like not one of the stories of the unicorns are that story. So I try to always, even when we bring people on or when I'm mentoring, hey, go watch Super Pumped. Go watch the story of WeWork. Go watch Silicon Valley. Like, understand the story of Airbnb. Like, all of these companies, even Elon Musk's company, you know, Tesla, PayPal, they were on the verge of bankruptcy.
Multiple times.
It was not successful. They were trying everything they could. You know, if you look at the story of Reddit or LinkedIn, the LinkedIn Lions, almost crushed. So LinkedIn's an interesting one. They went out and they created their power users called the LinkedIn Lions. And they almost sank the company because these power users were asking for all these advanced features that no regular guy cares to use.
Yeah.
And so they kept catering to that, and they were like, oh, wow, user growth is falling off. What's going on here? Well, we're not catering to the masses. So it was then re-implement that KISS strategy, the keep it simple, stupid, right? And that's when they started to find the trajectory of growth. So, you know, all these little things, they all add up. You can compound something for the good, or you can compound a bunch of bad decisions for the bad. And that's sort of how it works in the startup ecosystem.
And I appreciate that. Some of my favorite, most impactful mentors, I fucking hated them while we were talking anyways.
Right.
And then I love them afterwards because I understood later on where they were pushing me. But we'll get back to that in another conversation. Let's go to kind of the inefficient or the uneducation or just not being exposed to, and these whether they're younger individuals trying to start a business. And I'm sure that you get pitched all the time.
I do.
All the time. What keeping it simple as possible, what would be kind of the top worst, top indicator maybe that, okay, this isn't going to work. This idea is not going to work. You're coming to me because I think that you said this too in the first minute that we were talking. It's like, I know in 30 to 90 seconds if this is something that I want to invest in or that's going to work. What is that thing?
So what I know in the first 30 seconds is if you're the guy, 30 to 60 seconds, I can ascertain whether you've hit any red flags to make me think that you're not the guy.
Okay.
So if I think you're the guy, then you're going to get more time. Then you get 5 minutes. And then if I like what you said in 5 minutes, I'm going to bring you in, and now we're going to talk 15 minutes. And then we are going to go into due diligence on everything that you said. And
so
see
what
if
in
it
that 30
is.
seconds?
Yeah,
what are you saying?
The 30 seconds, the first 30 seconds is, are you an expert at this? Do you seemingly have it figured out? The people that don't pass that first 30 or 60 seconds are unsure about what they're saying. It's not clear. They might ask me a question. I'm like, wait a minute, you're supposed to have all the answers here, not me. It's like, I don't know whether you should do or not do that. So if you're not confident, you have not identified a problem with a very simple solution, and you can confidently tell me why you have a competitive edge, and that's 60 seconds, then there is no extra time after that. Anything you say after that, I've already zoned out, and I'm just waiting for the conversation to end. I'm just going to be honest with you. And that was hard when I say when I had to learn how to pitch, I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to I was like, I'm building this thing, and this thing solves so many problems. How could I put it into words?
Yeah.
It's like I need videos and pictures. I was gone. And you realize that you're not ready until you can take something so complex and describe it in a word or two. That's very difficult to do.
Very.
Right? So if you can't do that, you're not ready to be pitching anyone, because I have no idea probably what the hell you're talking about. And so if you can't explain, and so like when I was first pitching Otzi, my startup, I was like, oh my God, I solve so many problems. I'm a review killer. I'm discovering and not searching. And it's social and people want to learn from each other. And it was like all these things. And then I ended up with, at the end, there's over 800 million posts on Instagram with the hashtag travel. Mm-hmm. They're not bookable. We make them bookable. Mm-hmm. And we pay half the commission to the people who created the content. That's it. We monetize 800 million posts on Instagram for the hashtag travel. We monetize 50, 60 billion video views for the hashtag travel on TikTok. We bridge the gap. We monetize it for the creator, so they want to give it to me. They get paid. We get the intellectual property. The 350,000 vendors on my platform get a whole new vertical to market their local businesses, to market their product in 170 countries. It's simple. I bridged a gap. Mm-hmm. But I didn't. There's a whole lot of other things I could tell you about Etsy. I'd talk for hours about it. Yeah. But that's what resonates with people. It wasn't a thing that, it's not the main reason I built it. It wasn't what resonated for me. It just seemed to be like, oh, that's the bigger elephant in the room of the problem. I understand. I go on social media. Oh, there's a lot of travel content on there. Oh, I can't book any of it. The creators are getting paid nothing for it. Stick it on my platform. We'll solve both those problems.
So is that part of the problem with some of these founders pitching is they only see it from their perspective. They're not taking an investor's perspective when they're putting together a pitch.
Yes. And so the other issue with people is I talk to my own staff about this and many of the founders I mentor. Really, really smart people spend an enormous amount of time trying to say things very simply. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because I already know the complexity of it. I know the big words. Mm-hmm. So it's not my job to be super articulate and come at you with fancy rhetoric, right? We can use all these words. Yeah. It's my job to say it in the most simplest way. And I say 5 minutes to a 5-year-old. That's what you get. Mm-hmm. And everyone else seems to want to stand up on that stage or take that moment to show me how incredibly smart they are to use all these really big buzzwords. Yeah. And the second I hear those, I think you don't do the job for a living. Mm-hmm. Because if you did, you'd be saying those big words simplistically. And I would be like, oh. And like, so when I went to TechCrunch, which is in San Francisco, Disrupt, you get to be on the stage with the very best in the world. Mm-hmm. There's 200 startups that get selected. It's called the Battleground out of 10,000 startups globally. And so you're up there and you're like competing against like the future Elon Musks of the world. Mm-hmm. And I was telling you this.
Game time.
So like, you know, I'm over there like, I have a social travel app. We're TikTok and Instagram Reels meets Expedia. And the other guy's like, I built artificial intelligence that tracks early stage fetuses and we're literally saving babies. And I'm like, oh, this guy's saving babies. And then this other woman got on the stage and she's like, space is like a giant junkyard of stuff up there. Like all these countries are shooting satellites into space, but like we don't know where they are. And we, you know, it doesn't come out in the news, but like, these satellites are like crashing into each other. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's crazy. And she's like, so I built like the satellite tracking system that will track all satellites for all countries. We've built the platform. We're basically like colonizing space and tracking it like your Instacart order. And I'm like, oh, that's complicated. So like even the woman on the panel who does this for a living, she's like trying to think of like a question to ask her. And then she says to this woman, she goes, well, that sounds like complicated from a compliancy to like get all these governments to like work together. And I was like, ooh, good question. You got her. Mm-hmm. And I thought she had a gotcha moment. And then she's like, well, actually, I'm the head of the United Nations of like space debris or whatever she was. And so like I'm actually writing the policy and I'll be done with it in 2 weeks.
She was putting in reps before that. Yeah,
Needless
she
to
knew.
say, she won.
Yeah.
And she had like 13 military contracts. So it's like you are competing against just ridiculously good
Yeah.
people. And so I'm also pitching, even though we just closed our round, but I was invited to come to A16Z, which is Mark Andreessen's VC in Silicon Valley. So there's a vet cap in partnership with JP Morgan Chase. And then it's at A16Z's offices. And so, you know, because it's a veteran funded pitch competition, I'm going to be in there against like dual use, like military application, like the people that are building like the military guidance systems for like missiles and for like the next generation of firearms and laser technology. And I'm going to be up there with my social travel app, you know, and it's like, and I do win some of these things. I do win them, and I come in first, second, third place. I won the Nevada pitch competition and got funded. But, you know, it's like, you know, you're against like geniuses.
Yeah.
And so Vegas isn't ready to be against geniuses. We're trying.
I see what you're saying.
And we do have we have a couple of geniuses here. I will plug Peter Tomasic, Jeff Tartuchik, and Derek from TensorWave.
Okay.
TensorWave is an AI cloud computing platform that just closed a $100 million Series A.
Good for them.
They are literally leading, blazing trails for us here in Las Vegas. So, and I think they're going to have a B round very shortly, and I think that you'll see this company cross the unicorn
Amazing.
status of $1 billion. It's only been out for 24 months. So they're making huge strides. So we have them here.
Yeah.
You know, Marissa, she's an incredible attorney. She's an attorney. She went to Harvard, Stanford. She built a platform called BuildQ. BuildQ is a marketplace, two-sided marketplace to get energy contracts funded. So solar, wind, get them funded and match them with institutional investors, and they take a small piece of the pie. So there's some really, like Lucy Hub is another one to look up. Really awesome technology. Waiver, another cool one. Our fund passed on it, but UNLV got behind this. But what Waiver is doing is they actually looked at this rare species of frogs and how the frog can take condensation with the way its skin works. I'm going to botch this, but the way its skin works, in some way or shape, it's they're able to take moisture from the air and create water from it. So they're literally right now, they've already completed this in the lab studies here at UNLV at Blackfire, and they're now going to scale with it, and they're taking the moisture out of our desert air and condensing it into water for irrigation. Like that's happening right here in Vegas right now. And the founder's incredible. And so I think it's like there are people solving these crazy real world problems to literally take and create water from air.
So wild. So is it just going to take a few of those unicorns to come out of here to bring in some of that attention, bring in some more of the money, or is it? And then with that, the compounding effort of like your mentorship foundation, where you're developing the future as well. Like how long do you think it's going to take before Vegas is?
So yeah, it's hard, and so the problem is you see these big pipe dream companies, and as an immature investor here, you're not like, oh, let me invest in these things, because you might think, oh, this is a pipe dream. This is, like Vegas is right now trying to really be heavy into biotech. We have a new hospital that just was built in the Southwest over by the Durango. And so we want to be in biotech. Biotech is long horizons. You're talking 15, 20 years, FDA approvals and everything to push stuff out. So we do need these regular real estate investors and the funds that are here to roll the dice on some of these large attention-grabbing startups. Not all of them get funded. Now, they did, I believe, get a $5 million front investment from the UNLV's venture fund. But, the fund that I'm an LP on, I don't make any decisions there. I voted in favor, but it wasn't enough. But, like, funding stuff like Waiver that just makes the news, that just gets on the map, that's the stuff that's exciting. We tend to fund the more B2B SaaS platforms.
Okay, yeah.
Like that's kind of our ethos. And it's good to have an ethos. But an ethos is saying I have like a thesis of what I like to fund because it's my job to make money for the fund.
Yeah.
Yes, it's important. A bunch of LPs, limited partners, get together. They write you checks. You raise $10 million. The 3 or 4 GPs of that fund job is to deploy capital and beat the market.
Yeah.
That's why people are giving you money. So they're being very conservative in the choices that they make. But I think you also have to break that thesis sometimes and toss money around at the long shots because those are the ones attracting all the attention. It's like investing in Amazon today, or even forget Amazon because that could be a great investment. Say investing in the S&P 500.
Yeah.
You're investing in an index fund. You're going to get so if we treat the VC here in Vegas as an index fund, which is just going to try to outperform the index fund, and maybe it does by a multiple of 2 or 3 or 4, but we need to invest in straight up into these companies and go long on them. So that's where I think that we need to start shifting that focus is, removing sort of the investment thesis of like trying to enact the power law, which is financially the best thing to do.
Yeah.
But you want to grow something, it's each one teach one, pull people up.
Yeah, for future success.
And so, I think there just has to be an arm that goes after all of those crazy long shot ideas because it only takes 1 or 2 of them to put us on the map. And then I think you're attracting real national attention and having companies having their A, B, and C rounds here. Now Silicon Valley will deploy the capital.
You need like a sexy fund.
We need a sexy fund.
We need a sexy fund. I got it. We're solving it here.
Exactly.
Well, speaking of something that's sexy, I want to give you some time to talk about Otzi, but I feel like we could spend a lot of time talking about how we can move this Vegas market forward. So we'll save that for another time. I want to talk about Otzi.
Sure. Let's talk about it.
Again, this is another thing we talked about a lot in 5 minutes when we first met. You said you only invest in things like an 100x.
Yep.
What makes Otzi that? Something that could 100x, have a B behind it. What makes Otzi that?
So obviously I'm chasing the B, the billion. And so, I own Red Carpet. And that was a company where we deal with high net worth individuals in corporate travel. And we do it the best. We've been here. It's been around for 20 years, and we have some of the biggest tech companies and biggest institutional clients. And we plan from their leadership conferences to just regular conferences here like CES in Vegas, and right down into the CEOs directly, like their travel. From whether they want to take a safari in Africa or come to Vegas for a weekend. So during COVID, I bought an RV and the world closed, and I traveled around the country. And on this RV, and I've told this story before, but I'll tell it here because it's relevant. I would have the virtual happy hours with some of my biggest customers. We would obviously crack a beer together on Zoom. And I'm like, you love the company. And remember, some of these were tech founders, some were just institutional. And they're like, I'm like, you love the company. Like, we're able to do 100 million in sales. Like, how do we do $1 billion? And they're, one of my good customers' name is Joe. He's just like, your business isn't scalable. And so it's a great business, but it's what's called a lifestyle business, right? It's going to make its money. It's going to incrementally grow at 20%, 30% if I'm lucky every year, and we'll continue to build a legacy brand. But it can't overnight take 100,000 customers.
Yeah.
It's 1-to-1. It's a customer calls me and they want to sit in the 50-yard line box at the Super Bowl, and I have to make that happen. They want to be in the paddock club at F1, and there's only so many of those seats, and I have to make that happen. And so I have to, and they want to go to a restaurant that's already sold out. That's when I get the call.
Wasn't there a story where you had to bump Ryan Reynolds from something? So
yeah, there is actually. The soccer team, the football teams, the European football teams were all here. So his football team had the owner's table at Omnia one of the evenings, and our football team client, Man U, and we also had, I believe, Burnley with us. And so we bumped his table of his players to put our players. So it's like, now you're just like at the who wants to spend more, who has the best relationship. Now, they just booked at that point through a host. We represent many clients and do tens of millions of dollars of revenue with these venues. So we're not looked at as a one-off table. So yeah, we had to bump his entire football team.
If that's not clout, I don't know what is.
Yeah, so and again, it's a clout space, but that's what led me to sort of Otzi was how can I and so during that time I was on social media a lot and I was planning my own vacation to Iceland. And I've talked about that before. And I have a friend, her name is Shannon Kelly, and she loves to travel. She gets deep into the blogs, the Reddit posts, everything. And her husband was at the time a senior vice president for Southern Wine and Spirits from New York. So we're in a similar income category. We travel very similarly. Everything she does is for the gram. Yeah. So she's got every picture. Yeah. She's going to rent that 1968 Porsche, and she's going to drive it to the countryside with a bonnet on her head. She's going to go to Lake Como and get the wooden Chris Craft boat. Yeah. So all the cool things that I also like to do because I like to leave with that memory. And so when I was going to Iceland, I was randomly planning my own vacation, and all of a sudden, the next day on Facebook, she had just got back and started posting pictures. So I hit her up and I say, Shannon, would you give me any recommendations? She's like, MD, I have one better for you. And she sends me this 3-page itinerary, but she's like, she crossed off and read the things that the things I wouldn't like. And I'm like, how is planning a trip so much more complicated than this? Yeah. Because reviews are written by a bunch of people you don't know. So even if they weren't manipulated, even if they weren't run by Karens, there's a relevancy issue of a review. If you're single and you're taking a trip, it's a different trip than if you go with your family.
Yeah, kids and everything.
It's a different trip if you have a different income level. Yep. It's a different trip if you're a foodie. So if you like adventure, right? Like if you like it to be local and authentic versus the Four Seasons versus if it's just a golf trip. Every trip is so different. So now I'm reading hundreds of reviews and I don't understand who's like me. So Otzi solves that problem. It allows you to discover and connect to people like you. So I get to meet the Shannon of the world who's done all the research, and I get to connect with her and be able to book a trip that I trust. And so that's where it came from. And while I was on the RV, I randomly would follow this family who sold everything, went in their RV. It was called Keep Your Daydream. They were YouTubers. And I learned a lot from them. Like they had an Amazon store.
I follow them too, yeah.
Yeah, I bought everything Mark and Trish told me to buy. Probably a bunch of stuff I didn't need to buy. But I actually wanted to buy it from their Amazon link because I wanted to support them. Yeah. And I wanted to follow their journey. And so like the RVs that I have, I actually randomly wrote them a message. They didn't write me back. Maybe they'll see this and they will. But I wrote them a message 2 weeks ago, and I was like, hey, I'd love to do a collab with Otzi. And so they inspired me in a sense that even our country is huge. There's so many cities, there's so many experiences, there's so many local businesses. Like, get out there and travel the country and see it. And obviously we're in 170 countries, so we're agnostic to whether you want to go to the Maldives or Japan or a trip to China or just to the Grand Canyon or Yosemite or to the Grand Tetons. So I thought it was really cool to have a way to monetize social media. I don't like to search. I like to discover. I want the feed to reorganize. I want us, right now, you and me, we go to Tulum. We have no plans. Yep. We hop on Otzi. The feed itself, the video feed, just literally rebuilds itself for you on over 100,000 data points. That'll turn into tens of millions of data points in the future and literally start showing you stuff that's available this second to book right now. And I just had a friend do that in Paris. He didn't know he was going to Paris. He stopped through, and he literally popped on Otzi, and he was going through the feed, and he ended up booking a couple of, like, tours in Paris. So that's the idea, is, like, having local, authentic things, reducing decision fatigue, connecting you to other like-minded people, and building community. And that's what we do.
There's so many reasons why I love. The more I did research on Otzi, there's so many reasons why I agree that it's probably future 1 billion plus company. And a few of those is because you look at companies like this, and this actually came from a mentor that I had, the mentor that was the productive asshole. And if you're looking at companies like this, some leading indicators are like they call it the NEC and the NEP. So network effect capability and then network effect probability. So what are the probability that you can create a robust network effect without having to dump a ton of money on it long term? And then the capability. So what is that linear? Is it going to be linear? Is it going to be 100x like you were saying? And that's all I see when I look at this, because the market, like you look at the TAM, SAM, and SOM, it's like 650 billion. Is the
it's
total
actually
market?
So the experience market has grown quite a bit, and now we're talking about like something like a $1 to $3 trillion market.
Crazy.
And
then you look at like your early adopters. Like you kind of look at like who are like the fans, early adopters, and then kind of like those level one, like they're looking for the solution, like actively looking for the solution that you're giving them. They're influencers. They're their own megaphones. And I think there's something like 2 million micro influencers, where that's 1,000 to 10,000 people. So one of them utilizes your app. You're giving them a second income stream, first of all, because that's like an influencer's biggest problem is I can't make money and keep doing this cool thing that I'm doing. So you're solving that problem. So they're more likely to promote it to people who are following them, just like how you're following that.
Keep your daydream.
Keep your daydream. So it's so like even just the early success, and I'd like you to talk about the early success of it. It just seems so probable and so promising, and then the ceiling's so high.
Yeah, so you obviously you have to look at something and say, can you build something that can scale? And so it can't be one-to-one.
Yeah.
Like Red Carpet is. You're my customer. I talk to you. I make a sale. That's one sale one. At Otzi, it lives in. It's a marketplace. And it's a 3-sided marketplace.
And it's a great looking one too.
And yeah, we can. We'll send you some screenshots and some video recordings, and you can cut away to those.
But this is. It looks. I don't know if you. We'll be able to zoom in on that, but it's just. And then it's catered to you.
It is.
And it just cut out for some reason, probably my internet. But anyways, no, it's super easy to use, because that's one thing you worry about.
It is. We feed live booking prices into the top right corner of the video feed. So everything that you see on Otzi, it's instantly bookable, and it has a price. And it renders the feed to your location in the world, and only shows what's available.
Like literally,
so the
like
price is right there.
Up there at
so
the top.
So if you click that price, it's going to take you directly to the venue page. So now you're on the book. Now you can book, and you have your reviews right there.
You can literally book right here.
Yep.
I was only looking at
aggregate reviews. Like we pull reviews from TripAdvisor, we pull them from Yelp. We want to show you all the reviews too, but it's not about everyone's review. It's about this person that's connected you to the experience. And so people often come to me and they go, why don't you show all the negative reviews? I'm like, because if something has negative reviews, we just don't put it on. When I'm trying to make a decision in the last moment, like, do I need to read about a bunch of things that have horrible reviews?
Yeah.
Like, if you can't get a 4-star or higher, like aggregately, like we just don't show you.
Like, I see what you're saying. If it has something below, it just won't be on there. Something below 4 stars, it won't be on.
We're not going to show it in the algorithm, because when you're making a decision in that moment, like you're in Tulum, you're with your family, like I don't need to show you 9, 10 things that have horrible reviews of things you shouldn't do.
A 1-star hostel, that'll
right.
work.
The idea is that it connects to you and it shows you things that are relevant, that are bookable this instant, and that you can trust. So that's sort of the idea. But yeah, so the scalability side is it has to have the ability to scale. Now, by no means is this an easy win. I have the strength and the capability of being a multiple-time founder to help spin that flywheel and get it started. But like ultimately, it's up to the users.
Yeah.
So we have community channels. We solicit feedback. We bring on influencers are not easy to deal with. They're the Beyoncés of the world.
I've been there.
And even the micro-influencers are getting to be tough. But, so like they don't respond very easily. So the idea is that Otzi's trying to create everyday people to share their content. Now, do we have 1,000 micro-influencers that have over 50 million social followers collectively on Instagram and TikTok? We do, and we spend a lot of time building that community. But we're doing giveaways. We're literally encouraging engagement in the app every single day. We're building community channels. We solicit feedback. We do focus groups. we do everything we can, running TikTok ads, Instagram ads, to create the ability to find where that in that data, that one thing that may make it go viral. But I'm standing on tens of thousands of bodies of social media products that never made it.
Yeah.
You could maybe name me 5, 10 if you really were into it. There's been 100,000 of them built.
There's a huge grave. For every one success, there's 1,000 graveyards. I think it's the same.
It is. And so knowing those odds. So that's like something. I once got funded by someone because I was able to convey that I understood the odds of failure. Because if I can understand all the ways it fails, I can find the one way it doesn't. And so I often...
Brilliant.
It's like, if you think it's like the Avengers.
Yeah. When
Doctor Strange and he's with, obviously, Iron Man, and they're on the planet.
Thanos' home planet.
Yeah. And he's like, he goes into, and he's like looking at all these ways, and he goes, well, what's the outcome? He goes, 1. And then obviously the 1 takes place.
Yeah, how many times do we win? Only once out of a couple million.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I often say you have to go to the dark place to see all the ways it fails, to find your one way it goes. And so if you can see that, you can find a way forward. But it's like, if you just want to ignore the elephant in the room, it's going to be a problem.
And therein lies a big problem with some of these founders that are pitching you. They're not willing to do that and be honest with themselves. They get so close to the problem they're solving, or the clout that comes with being a founder, or whatever it is, and they don't look at that. They don't go to the dark place and move their biases, move their preconceived notions to do the work.
Yeah, ideas are a dime a dozen, and as Mark Zuckerberg said, you can come with the best idea that you could ever think of, drop it tomorrow morning on my desk, drop it on Tim Cook's desk, nothing will happen with it. Because it's the execution. Nobody wants in until you execute it, until you show that there's a product market fit. And we're still chasing that. We have over 50,000 users in the last few months, but we're still chasing product market fit. We're post revenue. We've gotten over 300 bookings from those individuals. We're cranking along by the KPI perspective, like we're succeeding. But it's not millions of users. It's not like, oh, take your foot off the gas. It's keep finding more ways that this doesn't go to zero. And so that's where I think it's just, no matter how great the idea, and yeah, when I play with it, like I overbuilt the MVP, a minimum viable product. I overbuilt it. I built a Rolls Royce of MVPs. Because the bar, in my opinion, is so high on social media of how fast something should scroll, what the haptic feedback should be like. When I'm using Messenger, how should it work? And we're solving really complex problems. Like if you go to the search button, the Explore page, that's the first Explore page in travel that ever re-renders every single category, every single result for the individual user on over 100,000 data points. These were problems I didn't know that could physically be solved when I first built it. We have 2 data scientists with PhDs that literally are writing the algorithm. We had to build our own search. So you got to think about the maturity of like an Expedia and its search. And even on Expedia, it's asking you in the beginning, do you want a flight? Do you want a hotel? Do you want an experience? And what are the dates? We don't ask you those things. Now, every time it lets you ask one of those questions, it refines the search down. So it's searching a less set of parameters. At Otzi, we use Elasticsearch with one of the most advanced machine learning algorithmic searches. Now, it's not perfect. It's growing every day. I always tell everyone, hop into Otzi, check it out. You can download it in the App Store. It's on Google. It's on iPhone. It's the worst it'll ever be, and it's still a great product. But the point that I'm making is, like, we had to solve these grand challenges, data laking, building our own location data, ingesting several 100,000 locations and experiences and local businesses and their pricing structure and their ticketing structure and their age range structure, and then build something that actually returns a result in a few seconds without gating it. Because what I hate about Expedia, and obviously Expedia is a great company, and I think Airbnb tried to solve this as well with categories, but I don't know what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be inspired. Don't ask me what date, where, what.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's too many questions. I just want to see cool shit. So we try to create a lower barrier of entry into our app to just seeing cool shit and getting inspired.
And I just downloaded it, and that's exactly what you're going to see. It's a brilliant product already, and you're just getting started. But I think we can end it there. I have nothing to add to everything you just said. Execute. That's what you got to do. You can plan all you want. Flip the coin, and put fuck yes on both sides. Just do it. If you've done the work, and this is truly what you want to do, you don't just want to quit your 9 to 5. Go for it. And you got to do the work. You got to do the right things. So I always end these on a personal question.
Yep.
You've hired mentors before. What's the best piece of advice that you always go back to that you got from a mentor?
The best piece of advice that they've given me?
Yes.
Okay. That's, I got to think about that for a second. I try to take nuggets from every person that speaks to me. So there's no one individual mentor that I think where it's like I identify that, I learned all of these things from. It's a nugget from each one of them. And I've had multiple mentors. I have 3 or 4 mentors right now of incredible founders. Some I've put on the board. Some are my advisors to the CEO. Each one is a very different thing. One is keeping my eye on what the goal is. If the goal is for a merger and acquisition, I should be building every day for a merger and acquisition. The main one when I was pitching wrong was not she told me something that it was hard to resonate. And to be honest, if I was building this in my 20s versus my, I'm 42 now, I wouldn't be able to have handled it the same way. She's like, you don't know your product.
Yeah.
Because you can't simply tell it to me. You don't know your product. So that's probably the biggest takeaway that I try to live with every day is, do I actually understand the thing that I'm working on? Or am I just doing stuff? So knowing my product, knowing my marketing campaign, knowing what I'm asking, and the tagline of OTC is what's next. What's the next moment you'll take? What's the next adventure you'll be on? The next piece of content you'll share with us. But ask yourself, and this came from one of my mentors, the what's next part. Ask yourself, if you're doing this today, tomorrow is going to be what's next. There's always something that comes after the thing you just did. What's next? That was really and I made the tagline of my company it. So that mentor brought that what's next philosophy. And so now when I ask myself, it's like, I raised the money today, what's next? I have to deploy it. Okay, now what's next? I have to build an ad campaign. What comes after that? I need collateral. And just keep going down that what's next rabbit hole, and you'll be able to make complex problems very simple.
Michael, thank you so much for being here, my friend. I've already learned so much just talking to you, being in the room with you, being in that event with you. I love what you're doing for the community. I can't wait to be back. I'm very excited to be back and be a part of it. Amazing human being. Everybody go follow him. All his links will be down below, including future or past podcasts, anything that he has coming up, his event here in Vegas, how you can support and learn more about him. But until next time, everybody, keep chasing your next summit.
Here we go.
Podcast, I'm here with the
Money, making crap for money, money, and